Hi everyone, today I will be walking you through how you can renew your F1 visa if you're on STEM OPT. A little bit background about me: I did my bachelor's in biochemistry and I graduated in 2021. So right after that I started my OPT, and a year after, as with all STEM majors, I had the option of renewing my OPT for 2 more years, so I did that. And during this time, as you might all be aware, the EAD card that we receive, the employment authorization card, it says not valid for re-entry to the US, and my visa had expired in 2021 or 2022. So after that, I just thought I would not be able to travel at all. But after talking with a few friends and an advisor at my school, it turned out that I could actually renew my visa. So that's how I started the process, and I went to Nepal in June this year, and I was able to renew my visa without much of a hassle. So I hope if you're considering of going to Nepal to renew your visa while your OPT is still valid, I hope you'll find this video helpful. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do before you get started is to read this page. The link is right here. Go through everything. It lists all the documents that you will need, what you need to do, and just go over it really well, but I will go over that as well. So this page also has a link to fill your DS160 form, which is the first thing that you have to do. It's a pretty straightforward form. There might be some confusing questions. Like, for example, I was confused about one question that asked for my length of stay in Nepal, and at that time I had not really planned my whole trip, so I didn't know what to add. But as long as you provide a good estimate, it might be a month, 3 weeks, something like that, it should be fine. I think it also asks for my flight details, like which airlines I might be taking, but just it doesn't matter the details of it, just to give an estimate, and that should be fine. And on the page, you will see all the requirements and eligibility criteria for the visa interview waiver. So I was also waived for an interview, so I didn't have to actually show up for an interview. I just had to submit all my forms, and basically that was it. In some instances, you might be called for an interview, but I think that's super rare, as long as you have not really done any illegal activities or been involved in any criminal offense in the US. It should be fine. You just need to submit all the documents and should be a piece of cake. So moving on, once I submitted or filled my DS160, I printed that out, the confirmation letter. I made sure that my I-20 was updated. I contacted my advisor like a month or so in advance and had her sign my I-20 so that it was updated. I printed my passport, and I made sure that I have copies of everything in multiple places. I emailed them to myself, emailed them to other people. You never know. So I've always been super careful about these things. And once I had everything, I booked my flights, and I was confused about the visa waiver confirmation letter, because that is something that is also listed in the criteria that you need to have this to apply for the waiver. I did not get this once I filled the DS160 form, and that is because I chose to do the payment in person in Nepal. There's two options you can do the payment. One is in Nepal in person, or you can do it electronically. I chose to do it in person because my friends had also done it, and I just wanted to make sure if there was something wrong, I can be there to fix it. So I just chose to do it in person. But if you choose to do it electronically, you might just get the confirmation letter right after you make the payment. So once I had all these documents, my DS160, I-20, passport, visa, I left for Nepal. I was there for about 3.5 weeks, and my first week there, I went to the bank. So the bank is Nepal Investment Mega Bank. I went to the one in Basantapur first, and I presented them with all these documents. Oh, and you also need to have a deposit slip. There's this form that you will get once you finish your DS160, and it just lists a reference number for the bank employee. and just the amount that you need to pay, which was 21,600 Nepali rupees. And you will get this once you finish your DS160. I filled out my DS160 about 2 to 3 weeks before I left for Nepal, so you don't really have to do it way longer in advance. About 2 to 3 weeks, I would say is a good estimate. So at the bank in Basantapur, I submitted all the documents. I had my DS160, I-20, passport, visa, and the deposit slip, which has the reference number for the employee at the bank. And it took about, and of course the payment in cash, it took them about maybe 30 or so minutes to process everything. And once they are done with the processing, they give you this slip that has a receipt number, which you will need. And once you get the receipt number, you have to go to the same page where you filled your DS160, and it will ask you to add the receipt number. Mine, because it was already processed, it automatically added the receipt number, or in case if it's not added, you can just add it because you'll have the number with you. So once you add that in, then you will get your visa waiver confirmation letter. That's when I got my visa waiver confirmation letter, and I just went to the nearby cyber to print it out, and I headed to the main branch of Nepal Investment Mega Bank, because in the Basantapur branch they don't take the passport, and it's all the processing is done in the main branch. And so once I had the confirmation letter, I went to the main branch in Darbar Marg, and I presented them with all the documents, my confirmation letter, DS160, I-20, visa. Pretty much, I think that was it. I did not know that I would also need to submit my transcripts, and thankfully I had my laptop with me, and I had a copy of my transcript in it. So I went to the nearby cyber, got it printed. The employee was nice enough to wait for me, and I brought it to him and I submitted that. You will also need a photo of yourself, and just a tip, you can choose to just do that in Nepal because that will save you a lot of money. I got mine done in under an hour, and it was only 200 rupees. So yeah, just to save money. And so once I submitted all the document, the employee told me that I will receive my passport or an email that my visa has been renewed in about 10 days. So after that, it was just a waiting game, and within, I think it was exactly 10 days when I got an email from them that my visa had been renewed. So that was pretty easy. I was stressing out about going to Nepal and doing this because everyone had told me that it was risky, but it really was not. It was a very straightforward process, and it seemed like the bank employee had done this many times, so I'm sure a lot of people have already done it. And as long as your STEM OPT is valid, mine was valid for a year. So my OPT expires next June, so I still had a year left, and as long as your OPT is valid for at least a year or even less than that, I think there should be no problem at all. So if you're missing your family, or if you just want to go home for some event, feel free to, and I don't think it's that risky. But definitely things might differ on a case-by-case basis, so make sure that you read through all the resources. The page that I mentioned before is super helpful. It has everything in it. And let me know if you have any questions.